12 lines from the bottom of the page. Nevertheless means that even though this person, like what were the 2 points that we have? Talking about a Beinani. Now, a Beinani during davening actually put his Yisrael to sleep almost like a tzaddik. For 2 reasons. First of all, because of his kavanah, and second of all, because of the Shas HaKosh. After davening, he's not a melech, he's a moshel. He's barely surviving as a Beinani. This is what we learned. Bottom line is, he doesn't do any Avedas, and there's 2 issues. Number 1, there's a leftover trace in his davening from before, which motivates him. And number 2, it's the idea of Yisrael Terachesha. Kedusha and Klippa are light and darkness, and when Kedusha fights with Klippa, it's light, a little light pushes away lots of darkness, and so you will. And today's Tanya begins nevertheless. Even though during davening you have Melucha, and after davening you have Memshala, and you have the idea of Yisrael Terachesha. For all of these reasons, you should be a tzaddik. Nevertheless, ain't a nikah tzaddik, you're not a tzaddik. Why? Yisrael has that disadvantage. Asher le'ed nefesh alikis that exists for the light of his godly soul. Over the darkness and foolishness of Klippa. Which is pushed away automatically, as explained in the end of last year, because of light pushing away darkness. The Kedusha pushing away Klippa only affects the garments. In other words, to put it in the context, the fight is over the city. The Nefesh HaBahamis never conquers the city. That's it. But it doesn't conquer the soul. Right? What do you have? You have 2 souls. Nefesh HaLekis, Nefesh HaBahamis. The stronghold of the soul is in the mind. The stronghold of the heart of the Nefesh HaBahamis is in the heart. You conquered the city. The Nefesh HaLekis conquers the city, but Nefesh HaBahamis remains as strong as it was earlier. Not that the essence of the godly soul pushes aside the essence Shalaklipa of the animal soul, because the essence of the animal soul, which comes from Klipa means it's a denial of its own truth, which is Alakus, which is in the left ventricle of the heart, is not at all pushed away in a Beinani after davening. During davening, it's not just he's doing mitzvahs, he's feeling Hashem, he's understanding Hashem. So then his animal also is inspired. So the time that he davens, it's almost like tzaddik. But after davening, all that he has, as you'll see soon, is a little trace of the davening, which carries over. Subsequent to the davening, after the davening, but the heart of the behemoth remains intact. Because after one finishes davening, the fire which is compared to a fire attached to a coal of love to Hashem, in other words, the passions for the Eibishter are not be revealed in the heart, in the right ventricle, but instead the inside of the Beinani is a Ratzuf. Ratzuf has 2 translations. Ratzuf literally means smeared, like you plate something with gold or with some other material. But Ratzav also has the connotation of healing and correction. Imr Sadeshem Tzrufa. The Beinani's right ventricle of the heart is a Ratzav but Ava Misuteras, a hidden love. In Tanya Peirik Tes, when Alter Rebbe talked about the war, he describes how a person does his bonus and develops Hashem, Ava Hashem in his heart. Ratzav Ava, and over there he doesn't say Misuteras. Over there he says Malay V'Godesh, filled to overflowing, and it's Mispasha to the Nefesh HaBahamis. Here the Beinani, after davening, when he's not davening, the Ava is Takaratzav. His brains, his bonus during the davening, and the full-blown Ava Hashem he felt during davening, leaves a Ritzifus, a healing and a correction and a plating of Ava on the right ventricle of his heart, but it's a hidden love. Over here, hidden love doesn't mean hidden love from the neshama, it means a hidden love that comes from Avodah. Shehi Ava Teves, which is the natural love. Shebenefesh Alakis of the godly soul, which the Kosla Kam is going to explain later. Okay, ich weiß nicht. There's 2 Ava Masteres, clearly. There's Ava Masteres of Perik Tezvav and Tezayin, and then there's Ava Masteres of Perik Yutches. One is the neshama coming out, and the other is the residue of your hisbonenus. L'cheida, this means the residue of hisbonenus, but he calls it Ava Teves, which is l'cheida the second in Veisach nicht. V'azayin then, when you're not davening, Yochel, it's possible. L'yesed, it should be that Sichlas Haksil, the foolishness of the fool, Hara, the Yetzer Hara, is gallously revealed in one's heart. B'chol small in the left ventricle of the heart. Les aves taive, to desire. Desires l'chol inyone gashmi selam hazeh, to all matters of the material of this physical world. Right? Bein beheter, bein behisach as shalom. both permitted Teves as well as prohibited Teves. Now you'll see in a moment that when you desire a permitted Taiva, it's top of page 34. When you desire a permitted Taiva, you can actually want it because it's not an Aveda. Or prohibited Taiva, you think about it but you don't actually want it because actually wanting it would be borderline on an Aveda. You'll see momentarily. But the fact that the desires pop into the heart of the Beinani not during davening is normal. Understand what this means? It means this. When you daven, you can't even desire behemish hazach. You can't even desire animal stuff. Why? Because when you daven, you're inspired with Avas Hashem, begilui, so it spills over to the animal soul. And when you daven, there's also the inyan of Shas HaKesha. It's an Eis Ratzon, and because of this also, the Nebuch Hamas goes to sleep. But after the davening, that you're surviving on Shlita, you're surviving on Shlita, not on Memshala. You're surviving on simply controlling your Nefesh HaBahamis. You're not filled with Avas Hashem and Yiras Hashem. So Nefesh HaBahamis is just as capable of offering a voice. It's as if you never davened. Now but then, you're going to see momentarily that you don't do an Aveira even in Machshava. The idea that bad thoughts pop into your head doesn't make you a Rasha. For a Bein to have bad thoughts is normal. If a Bein doesn't have bad thoughts, Epis is Nish Peseder. A Beinani has bad thoughts. Why? Because now he's not inspired with Avas Hashem. But when the bad thoughts enter his mind, he pushes them out. When it comes to thinking thoughts of an Aveda, it never crosses his mind. He never actually thinks about doing it, God forbid. Because if he would think about doing it, that would constitute an Aveda in Machshav. But rather, thoughts of Aveda, fantasies of Aveda, which actually, even though they're not Avedas, are worse than Avedas. Why would a fantasy of Aveda, which is not an Aveda, be worse than Aveda? Because it's full of emotion. An Aveda is an act. You don't have an act, but you have passions. These passions are not a sin, but they're compelling you, they're pushing you to do an Aveda, and it's very difficult to stop yourself. The Gemara says, Gimel Avedas ein adam nisam b'chol. Yeah, there are 3 Avedas, which a person can never be spared. Hirid Aveda, Iyun Tefillah, v'chuli. And the third is different days, and the Alter Rebbe and Tanya brings different fun, and the third is Mistama Avak Lashon Hara. The drop of Lashon Hara. The first one is 3 things. Hirid Aveda, which means thoughts of Aveda. Iyun Tefillah, which means a lack of concentration in davening. There's other taichin as well. What's the point? The point is that these 3 Avedas are not Mamish Avedas. Because if they're Mamish Avedas, then nobody can be a Beit. The Gemara says 3 Avedas everybody does every day. If there's 3 Avedas everybody does every day, this can't be a Beinani, because a Beinani has no Avedas. So they're not Avedas, but they bring to Avedas. Here, Aveda means fantasies about Aveda, which are not Aveda yet. Okay, now there's 2 issues here. Number 1, there's Teves Heter and Teves Heter, right? There's desires to eat kosher food and desires to do Avedas. When you have a desire to eat kosher food, the idea pops into your head, and even pops into your head to do it. But you don't. And because you don't do it, you're not over an Aveda B'dakis, which is Vizkadishtim. You have to make yourself holy, not a lizer. Taivas is, the idea pops into your head. You're not even allowed to think about doing it. Because thinking about doing it, the thought itself, constitutes an Aveda. And a Beinani has no Avedas. At Kan, the Shir